Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to the second session of the top 20% unicorns at Deep Thought. So today we have with us a very special speaker, Mr. Pranith Simha. Mr. Pranith Simha is my college senior. That's how I first know him. But today I'm a very proud junior to him because he is the founder of Bachpan Banao, which is an NGO which operates in the conflict affected zone of Dantewada. And briefly, for a few years, he had also run a school called Samata School in Kurnool to provide education to the bottommost segments of the economic pyramid that we have. Pranith Anna works with the government and he works towards empowering the public education system. And what I really like about Pranith Anna is how he thinks of solutions at scale and he looks at institutionalizing solutions. You have a solution, how can you institutionalize a solution? What does this word institutionalize mean? Is, I think, something I promise that all of us would have a better understanding by the end of this session. Because all of us try to solve problems, but when we can solve problems and institutionalize them, I think they'll work at scale, and that's when the impact would be massive. It's indeed one of the most important topics that any budding leader can ever learn. So I hope all of us pay keen attention to him and try to extract some value out of this session. So on this note, Pranithana, we'd really love to, listen to you for about 5 to 10 minutes, after which, all of us have a lot of questions and we really love to, get your thoughts around these questions. So over to you, Pranithana.
Thank you very much, Tarun, for all those kind words. I'm not sure. Right now, I think the biggest tension I have is, as I shared with you, I've been running this not-for-profit, and I also have experience of talking to people working with not-for-profits and not-for-profit teams. I think this is first time I'm interacting with people out of not-for-profit sector. So that's why I was a little skeptical how much I'm going to relevant to this particular group. And I don't know where to start from. Maybe question and answer session would have been helpful. But on the note that you are sharing, like systems, solutions, and all. So I think my struggle, not struggle, uh, have been finding this balance between again, this particular code, I don't know how much relevant it is for this particular group in a society where today we are divided between ideologies and everything. But there is a paragraph from Rohit Vemula, a guy who committed suicide in Hyderabad Central University. In his suicide note, there is one particular paragraph uh, that got my attention, and that I always keep reminding that paragraph in my mind and want to read that paragraph with everyone. So Rohit Vemula says in his suicide note, the value of a man was reduced to his immediate identity and nearest possibility, to a vote, to a number, or to a thing. Never was a man treated as a mind, as a glorious thing made up of stardust, in every field, in studies, in streets, in politics, and dying and living. So I think when I first read this paragraph, it was hard hitting on my face. So I think after working in Dantewada for 4 or 5 years, I came across this post, this paragraph. I was lucky. I got the chance to work with governments and to come up with solutions at scale in the government setup and all those things. So while designing solutions, or while uh, coming up with the programs and innovations, we often consider, we don't consider, say, I am working in education, right? So at the end, a child becomes just one more number. How many children passed, how many failed, or how many students have received uniform. So it becomes just one more number. So when I read this paragraph, it was a very hard-hitting one on me. So that's where since then I'm more wondering between, is it possible to build a scalable solution? We are not considering or a human into just one more number. Instead, can we count that individual human as the glorious mind made up of stardust, the thing that Rohit Vemla had mentioned? I think this is the struggle to establish the balance between uh, ensuring basic human dignity and also finding solutions at scale. Uh, so this is the struggle that I have always been going through. In fact, I remember one incident. When I first came to Dantewada, I think I went back to ICER after 1 year. I met Dr. Arvind Gupta, and I was like, "Sir, we have good access to education system in Dantewada. We can do everything that we want. We are making lesson plans at district level, and we are ensuring all the teachers will implement those lesson plans in the schools and all that." Then Arvind Gupta sir bashed me. He was like, "Who are you to design lesson plans for a teacher who is working in a remote school?" I was like, "Yaar, all these Buddha log living in their ideal world, asking these questions, ki, who are you to make lesson plans?" And all. So then that was my thought. Now today I understand what was the rationale behind that Arvind Gupta statement. So basically, he was trying to say is every child is different, and every child's context is different. Every child's socio-cultural background is different. So how can we go with like one solution for all the children? Like instead, teachers are the better innovators. Like who are you to tell teacher ki, uh, what is the pedagogy or what is the example that you have to use in the classroom and all those things. So I think again my struggle again here is having that human dignity and individual's identity, individual's connection. So yeah, this has been the struggle that and having an organization and also ensuring independent individual's identity. And one more motivation that keeps me to work here in Dantewada is the way tribal community functions. We call ourselves so-called civilized, and when the word tribal, the connotation it has is they are not civilized tribes. But this community could amazingly crack it. They cracked it. So where community ensures uh, individuals' identity, like individuals' freedom. That's community's responsibility. Like say what life partner, like what kind of life partner one has to choose. Again, it's individual's choice. There is no community imposition. Uh, Whereas individuals also ensure that fulfill their responsibility towards the community. So the amazing way that this tribal community worked out, that is something that one has to learn while building the organizations. Like as an organization, ensuring individuals' well-being, individuals' dignity, individuals' choices, individuals' freedom, and also having developing that culture where individuals are also feeling responsibility towards the organization, taking ownership of the organization. Yeah, I think uh, I really enjoy being like having the opportunity to be with the tribal communities, to watch these things very closely and learning and adopting them into the system. Yeah, so there are the two, three few things. I think human connections and the balance between the scale and the human connection, and the community taking care of individual needs and individuals taking care of organizational needs is something that's the balance that we are trying to figure out in the organization. I think this is very vague introductory note. Maybe over the conversations, we'll discuss more. Thank you.
Sure, Pranitana. So yeah, who has the first question today? Yeah, and I owed you for the first question of the day.
Hi, Pranith. I would really like to know more about your NGO, like what process it does to solve this issue of providing personal freedom and dignity in dignity.
Okay, so let me talk about our school. So Bachpan Banao is running a school called Sapna. We call ourselves a democratic school. So democratic school, when I'm saying democratic school, in literal sense, we are a democracy. We have a school parliament which makes decisions in weekly parliament. Like those decisions can be as simple as what is the menu of our afternoon meal, or what should be the assembly timings, should we have sports time in the school or not, to as big decisions as like whether we should continue this particular teacher in the school or not. So everything is being discussed in the parliament, and literally uh, each member of the community has one vote. When I'm saying community, it is teachers, non-teaching staff, and the children. Each member of the community has vote. We try to give reasons. Like say for example, we wanted to give holiday on Wednesday to our school because Wednesday is the local weekly type tribal bazaar day. Generally on Wednesdays there would be less attendance. So to accommodate our kids to participate in the local bazaar, we thought the teachers thought, because we can it's Sapno Ki Shala. Idea is how to integrate tribal lifestyle, tribal language, tribal culture with the modern education. That is something that we are trying to do there in Sapno Ki Shala. And we feel tribal community is a more democratic community. And with my experience, I feel the way our modern schools operate, our schools are very authoritative in nature, where adult, the teacher who is presenting in the school, is the one who is deciding when to dance, when to laugh, when to clap, when to study. The moment you enter into a classroom, it's the adult who is teacher, uh, is the one who is deciding everything for you. You don't have choice. Your choices are not counted. So this is very contradictory to a tribal family. A tribal family is very democratic in nature, unlike our urban middle class families. In a tribal family, if a kid doesn't want to go to school, it's completely that kid's choice. Parents, they don't interfere, they don't force. The moment a kid starts walking, community treats that particular kid as a independent individual. Even when say they go for hunting and all, even if say if a 5-year-old also goes for the hunting, he'll also get the equal portion of meat. Not that because he's a child, he'll get smaller portion and the adults will get the bigger portion. So that community practices democracy at every step. So, and our schools, the modern day schools, operate in very authoritative in nature. So these tribal kids feel very humiliated in the school because there they don't have any choice, they don't have any freedom. So that is also one of the major reasons I feel that is causing children being dropped out. So at Sapno Ki Shala, the school that we are running, it's a kind of lab for us where we are trying to develop models for tribal education. So how to teach maths, how to teach language, and also what should be the basic nature of the school, what kind of school leadership should be there. That is something that we are trying to work out here. So because tribal communities are democratic in nature, we thought even our school can be a democratic school, uh, where schools ethos, how school should be run, everything should be discussed and designed together rather than enforcing by others. So yeah, so everything is like say once, as I was telling, once we wanted to give holidays on Wednesday. So we went to the school parliament and I proposed as a head teacher, we want to give a holiday on Wednesday because we want all of you to participate in the weekly bazaar. That is very important to you people because weekly bazaars make very important role in your. So there are a couple of kids who are from like
Pranitha, we'll keep the answers. We'll keep the answers a little short so that we can take more questions.
Sure.
Yeah, but thank
So
you.
this
Yeah.
So these couple of students who are coming from the like village sarpanches, sons and daughters, they are like, no, we don't want holiday and everything. Like we teacher were convincing them, no. See, we do need to take holidays because only you two are coming, but rest of them don't want to come. They want to participate, but because they had bigger voice, they could influence all other students. So though it was being proposed by the teachers, but at the end children decided, no, we don't want holiday on Wednesday. We want holiday on Sunday or Saturday. So yeah, so just to tell, so at Sapno Ki Shala, we are trying to develop these models of like how can a school be run in a participatory way, where children have agency, children have autonomy, and they should be taking decisions, and they should also be responsible for consequences of whatever decisions they are making. So decision just not that. And I'll end this by saying, I'm not at all saying we don't have punishments. When I'm saying democracy, when I'm saying freedom, I'm not saying we don't have punishments. We do have punishments. But those punishments are being decided collectively by the group. Group is deciding the punishment. Say, if someone is disturbing the school assembly, group decided the punishment collectively. So if someone disturbs, you have to follow that punishment. And there are also punishments if you do, like what if someone is not following the punishment? There are also consequences. So if you are taking some, if you are doing some actions, there would be consequences, and you have to follow those consequences. And it should come from very young age. That's so autonomy, agency, and consequences, taking responsibility for the decisions are something that we are trying to do at Submission. So this is one thing that we do. Yeah, maybe we will discuss about other things in next questions.
Yeah, who has the next question? Yeah, Sagnik, please go ahead with your question.
Pranith, you said about how this entire issue of like putting a number for every person and basically taking the human essence out of them and just making them a number. How is it like hampering every individual as a whole? I would like to know that in bigger or in large scale scenarios, how can we make a system where instead of just making a person a number, we can cater to every person? Because when there are a lot of people in a system,
Sagnik, I would appreciate if you can ask it as a question and keep it short. Yeah.
so how can we cater to every person in a large scale system? Like what methodologies can we make? Just like to know.
Thank you, Sagnik. So Pranithan, I think his question is how do you, I mean, you spoke of, trying to have individuality and also scale. So how do you do this? I think his question.
It is hard. It is hard, especially in the given scenario, without building skills of the people. Say, for example, people of, again, I'm coming from education context. I think me and Tarun used to have this discussion very much. Say, if something education at ISER Pune, I'm very much amazed by whatever that we got. Though I have not taken the degree, I'm a dropout. I'm amazed by the education that we have received at ISER Pune. It inspires us. So then the question is, I think Tarun always used to say, whatever that is happening at ISER Pune, can this happen in a school, in a remote school that is working in Dantewada, or in a school that is being run in Hyderabad? But again, to do that, then the question is the skill set that professors at ISER Pune has, and the same time skill set and exposure that a school teacher has. So there is a difference, right? So I think right now, whenever we are trying to like building these large scale systems, we are generally afraid that because if we give freedom, people will misuse it. So we end up centralizing things. We end up treating with numbers and codes and whatever. So yeah, I mean, on one hand, while agreeing that we need to give freedom, but that can happen only if that person has skills and exposure.
So Pranithan, I think the question is like, how do you do it at scale?
Again, so that building those structures, like even at scale, how to build those structures. Say in the schools, in Dantewada, we are doing one thing. We run weekly learning circles for teachers. We are not doing trainings, we are not doing workshops, we are not doing anything the way you guys are doing here. So with government, we are conducting Saturday learning circles for teachers. So schools are divided into clusters. We have learning circles. We have agenda. So what we are trying to do is, when people are equipped with skills and exposure, then there is a scope for decentralizing things. The moment you decentralize things, then there is a possibility to ensure individuals' identity and individuals' freedom. So decentralization is one of the steps. The more you make centralized decisions, then there is no scope for accommodating individuals' needs.
Got it. Pranithan, if I understood it correctly, you're saying that people are being reduced to a number because there's fear of misuse and centralization is happening. And the way
Yes.
you are doing it is creating structures that can enable decentralization.
Okay, so let me just share one example. So we used to conduct a program called Pade Dantewada Likhe Dantewada in 1,000 schools of Dantewada. So it's just nothing but a monthly assessment system. Okay, so where there used to be a monthly exam in all the 10,000, all the 1,000 schools, and teachers used to update data in the portal. Who was having the access to those reports is the district collector or at max district education officer. So the question that I was going through, what can a collector do? Say you realize that in a particular block or in a particular mandal, mathematics children are performing very low in mathematics. What else you can do? You can conduct a maybe training of 200 teachers. You are not going to do nothing more than that. So what I was thinking, how can we build analytical skills of a class teacher? After this monthly assessment, so this is my class report card, and how to analyze that particular report, and how can I be a reflective practitioner, and how can I change my classroom pedagogy? So rather than collector having access to this district data, if a class teacher has the capacity to analyze his class report and being a reflective practitioner, if he can change his pedagogical practices, that will ensure every child's needs rather than a collector coming up with a district level program. That is something that I'm trying to say.
Got it. Next
I don't
question.
know whether I'm being relevant or not, but yeah.
This is a beautiful thing. And I mean, this is an example of a structure which is ensuring decentralization, right? You're empowering the stakeholders to be able to do it on their own rather than the centralized system doing it. I think it's a beautiful example. Who has the next question? Please go in. I think it's important we pose a variety of questions so that we can extract more out of his experiences and his thought process. Yeah, Anay, please go ahead.
Since your problem statement is very heavy and you are trying to do something for this community, you must be having some goal or some success criteria that you can say, okay, I achieved this goal today. What is that goal or success criteria you are looking for?
Okay. I think we are considering, we clearly as an organization don't have any expansion plans or something. We are considering Dantewada as an unit. And the idea is, can we come up with creating model, considering a district as a unit? Say, for example, whenever we're talking about education, people are saying Finland or Singapore has good education models or something. So I think we as an organization thinking, can Dantewada be that model for India as a district, whatever that we are doing? Because education is again very vast, right? So there is school leadership, there are language teaching, mathematics teaching, arts education, sports education, education administration, assessments. So we are working like system as a unit and district as a unit, and within a district, how to develop various models of teacher continuous learning, school leadership, maths teaching, science teaching, and can Dantewada be that model to rest of the country? That is the larger aim that we have. And the smaller successes, I can say in class 10th and 12th exams. A very simple example. That's in the example that I have said, the monthly assessments and being a reflective practitioners. So Dantewada being a tribal dominant district and conflict ridden district. In class 10th and 12th in Chhattisgarh, this used to be the bottom second, third district in class 10th and 12th pass percentage. After the Pade Dantewada Likhe Dantewada program, last year we were toppers in the state in class 10th and class 12th pass percentages as a district. So before that, earlier year district's pass percentage used to be I think 76% or something. Last year we were 90% and we were toppers in the state. So they are the small successes, but it worked, right? So no one ever thought that by Dantewada will become topper in the state in terms of pass percentage. But yeah, the very small intervention, it could lead to that. But the larger aim is again making Dantewada as a whole district as a unit. How can we develop that model?
Yeah, thank you for the answer. So who's going in with the next question? And I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Who is going with the next question?
Yeah, I want to ask, So how do you assess the impact of this program? You mentioned about like the 10th and 12th class exams. I'm assuming that is one of the indicators. But what are the other qualitative or quantitative indicators that you use to assess the impact of the program?
Uh, I'm not saying. I think this is under process, frankly speaking. Yeah. So we as an organization we have different. Say, Sapno Ki Shala, the school that we are running, has completely different set of indicators. Right. That is our lab. So we have few models and we have large scale interventions. So we have both. So when we are doing so as a Sapno Ki Shala, we have very different indicators. Like every child has certain like physical development, emotional development, and all those things like as a progress card. But in large scale interventions, definitely we're not taking everything up. So when we are doing large scale interventions, again this 10, 12 pass percentages, uh, and language and mathematics, like what are the learning levels of language and mathematics in the district? Yeah, what is the district's performance in say annual school education reports? Uh, these are the indicators that we use. I mean, nothing anything specific. I think I would want to add. I think maybe it is important for me to hear mention like what as an organization we do, what programs we are doing. I think that will help you people to understand. So, Bachpan Banao as an organization, we have some of our direct interventions where we as an organization implementing things in the district. So we do 3, 4 such programs. One is our lab school, which is Sapno Ki Shala, and we run. So we are working with communities, like community participation in education, and also making children literature accessible to children. So we are running community children libraries in 67 villages. That is in collaboration with government and UNICEF. So where these community children libraries acting as catalysts for community participation in the village. So that is the second thing that we do. Third thing that we do is we are running teacher networks, teacher learning networks, where we are running weekly learning circles. So each year, a group of 20 teachers, so each week, group of 20 teachers sitting together and planning for the next whole week, like what Hindi lessons you are teaching, what maths lessons you are teaching. They're helping each other and working in the schools. That is the third thing that we do. And the fourth thing that we do is we are strategy and support team for the administration, for the government basically, for the district government. So we design interventions, we implement those interventions across the district in all the 1,000 schools of the district. So first three interventions are our direct interventions. Through strategy and support team, we are trying to take those learnings of our direct interventions to the government systems. So, and we have different teams for all these works. So we have a separate school team, we have community library team, we have voluntary teacher for like teacher learning circles team, and we have a team working with the district government in strategy and support team. So different teams having a collective vision, working in their different models and sharing their learning, and eventually supporting the administration in strengthening education system. That is something that we do.
Thank you. Yeah, Paridhi, please go ahead with your question.
I wanted to know what was the process like when you first started out? I mean, currently you're working in collaboration with government, there are multiple teams, but how did you get started with all of this? What were the initial few years like? What issues did you face?
Especially when you are working with the government schools, the first major issue is getting access. Like entering into the system is a big struggle, and also people accepting you. Like generally, people would be like, say, for example, when I first came to Dantewada, I was 22-year-old, and the teacher with whom I am working, he has been working as a teacher since last 22 years, right? So, like he has experience of my age, and I am someone going to him and telling him this is not how you teach. This is how mathematics has to be taught in the classroom and something like that. No? So yeah, getting access and acceptance are the biggest struggles, even then and even today. Somehow, for me, I was lucky. There were good officers in the system. Again, I think identifying those good officers, reaching out to them, uh, collaborating with them. So luckily, we had in Dantewada good collectors who can understand what we are trying to say. So in that sense, we were lucky. So when collector is on board, that makes your life little easier. But again, having said that, just because the top boss is on board, that is not going to work. Maybe collectors can help us to just enter the office. But after that, you have to maintain that relationship with the stakeholder because collectors can come and go, but the education department is going to be there. So those cardiac relationships one has to maintain. It took some time to establish that connection, to convince them. When people work closely with you, slowly the trust building happens. So it took us at least 3 to 4 years to establish ourselves in the district. I think after 3 to 4 years, now we have like good access, good trust. In fact, now it is a time. Now we don't need any top bosses. Like it doesn't matter who is the collector now. The teachers, the education department officials, everyone is with you. They know. I mean, they see you as okay. He's here to support us whenever they need something. Uh, yeah, that is one thing. Second struggle is uh, whenever you are working in these remote locations, uh, being lonely is going to be the struggle because I am coming from say I've studied ISR Pune, came to Dantewada. Here you don't have any friends, you don't have any social circle. You are working in the field and you are alone. So it's like work-life balance, having me time, nothing. No, there is no scope for any of those things because you are alone. Same time, even now, I think even after 13 years, one more thing that I even face today, I think this is as an organization leader, you are very lonely when you are at the top. In fact, I was reading one book, How Prime Ministers Decide, recently. So even in that group, they said, I think many of the prime ministers of India were very lonely because I often feel in the district. So for your team, either you are Pranith sir or Pranith Danna, Pranith Bhaiya, or for government teachers also, for the government also, you are like say Pranith sir coming from NGO and all. But as an individual, we do have this need for having equals, having friends to discuss, to share. So I think especially when you are leading as an organization, there are high chances of you being end up lonely and don't know whom to discuss with, how to sort those things out. I faced those things in initial years very much. I think some of them I even face today. Uh,
Would you say,
as we are talking about institutionalization and all, that's why I refer to those things.
would you say that this sense of loneliness that you as an individual feel when creating something new, do you think it may have actually helped you develop rapport with all the stakeholders, the students, the teachers that you were working with? Or do you think it affects it negatively? Like, what are some strategies you use to create that initial rapport and get access to the stakeholders and get them to trust you?
Uh, no, I think I really miss not having a co-founder or something. I really feel why I started this alone. I feel having a couple of co-founders with me would have helped me very much to come up with the solutions, uh, to brainstorm, to think, to question each other. I didn't get that chance. So then you are completely. So I was dependent on mentors. I used to talk to a couple of professors at ISER, couple of other organization leaders, and all. Having co-founders would have helped uh, uh, to build this institution maybe
No,
much more
her question
easily.
was, her question was like, do you think this loneliness or this feeling actually helped you
I
get buy-in of
no,
stakeholders?
no, I don't think those two are. I mean, there is any connection between being lonely and
Parithi,
establishing.
any specific reason for the question?
I'm just trying to identify. So he mentioned that he, reached out to collectors and having them understand your idea is a important aspect, but ultimately you have to connect with people at the grassroots level, right? the students you're carrying out interventions with, the teachers you're training. So I just wanted to know the strategies that you use to create
But why
that.
did you connect both of them? Why did you connect that loneliness and connecting with stakeholders?
Because I feel when you yourself are seeking that social connection, it can make you more authentic when you're trying to form that rapport with people, when you're trying to get them to trust you and believe in the work that you're doing.
So, Pranithana, let me distill the question for you. So, what she's, I mean, by the way, Pratibha, Paridhi, and Shreya, whom we have here, are psychology students. 25% of our team are psychology students. So, so yeah. So, what she's trying to tell is when you are seeking social connection, right? Like you feel like you're, I mean, based on the book that you quoted, how prime ministers decide that most decision makers feel alone. So you're feeling alone and you're seeking social connection. So when you're seeking social connection, she says you're more authentic, you speak your heart out. And that probably made the grassroots level stakeholders connect to you faster because you're this kind of an individual. But maybe if you didn't have this kind of loneliness and if you were not seeking social connection in this way, you would not have been that authentic and you would not have got the kind of trust that you currently enjoy.
This can be true, actually. This can be true. I think, yeah, now maybe I can. So, for example, in last 13 years, there are other organizations who entered Dantewada, like who entered with big teams. So, yeah, I think people who are, again, I have some psychologist friends who are working here in the mental health program in Dantewada. Not taking names, but because they joined Dantewada as a team, like 3 or 4 people. So yeah, I think they are not seeking any such social connection. They don't. I think their relationship with local communities is very frugal. In fact, like maybe you are right because I didn't have anyone around, so maybe I ended up making friendships with the people and communities and teachers. But I think what I was referring to was something different. One thing is seeking the social connection, but other thing is having someone to brainstorm about the work, whatever intervention you are designing. So now in the organization, everyone else in the organization, you unfortunately we are running in a hierarchical system, right? How much ever freedom you create within the organization, at the end people know like you are CEO and director, uh, right? So I still doubt like how much honest brainstorming happens in that setting.
So Pranithana, quick question
uh,
here. Quick question here. Would you love it if you had couple of people who brainstorm with you as equals?
yes, I would have loved it.
Okay, I think that's just 3 weeks away.
Thank you, I'm looking forward.
By the way, okay, so on that note, can we announce our association?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so let me just say that in just a few weeks, when you click on the breakout rooms option, you'll have one more breakout room called org colon Bachpan Banao. We are hiring 2 volunteers for Bachpan Banao. Deep Thought is going to be a part of Bachpan Banao's story as well.
I'm actually looking forward because we need to develop, especially for this library program that we recently started. Because I'm looking forward to institutionalize these community children libraries in the
So,
state.
Anna, here I have one question. The last question of the
Please,
day. It's my question.
please.
I usually don't ask questions, but your talk was too tempting to stop. So my question is, you spoke of institutional, thinking at an institution level. You spoke of, leaders, feeling lonely at the top, right? So here we are with some young folks who, aspire to be leaders, aspire to be institution builders someday. So what's your advice to them to start thinking at an institution level and not at an individual level? How do they move from that individual thought process to institution thought process? So when you were 19 years old, if you were to go and give yourself advice, what advice would you give yourself so that you could grow as a good institution level thinker?
Ask such complicated questions.
They asked me at ICER 2 days back. I'm asking that.
Okay.
They asked, what advice would you give your 19-year-old self? And that went live.
I don't know. I don't want to say he first experience get the experience first, then start something and all. I really don't want to say because someone gave me that bad advice, and I got trapped into that advice. I think we don't need that. We will learn while doing it. So we can start doing things. Maybe being a reflective practitioner will definitely help. I think when I'm looking back Bachpan Banao's journey, uh, in 2012 when we started, I mean the things that we were doing then and things that we are doing now, there is complete difference. So I think we are learning, and every year we are accommodating our learning, like being a reflective practitioners, changing our strategies. I think that maybe being a reflective practitioner is the big thing. Maybe that is something that I can say. I don't know what else you are expecting from. Maybe smaller questions will help rather than these big philosophical questions.
No, I think we got the answer. So on that note, we'd like to conclude the session with at least 3 reflections from you guys, as we do always in all the DT sessions. So who's going in with a reflection? You just heard why this is a very important drill to do, because if Pranith were to give advice to the 19-year-old Pranith, he says, be a reflective practitioner. So Pranithana, we have a culture of reflection at Deep Thought. We end every session
Very
with
nice.
reflections.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So who's going into the first reflection today? Yeah, Pariti, please go ahead.
I think Pranit's organization is a lot like Deep Thought in a lot of ways. There are a lot of overlaps. The idea of democratizing things and encouraging autonomy, encouraging active communal decision taking, and especially the focus on ensuring that the students, the young people, they are not in an environment that is authoritative, that is, subduing their assertiveness, subduing their individuality and sense of self. That is one major takeaway, that if you want to create a generation that is capable of active decision making and that is capable of bearing the consequences of those decisions, then you have to allow them take decisions in the first place and to allow them to have their voices heard and to be treated as equals. And another major learning that I got from this was again similar to Deep Thought. It has to be a mutually equal relationship where the organization gives you the environment, the community gives you the environment and support to nurture your individuality, and then you as an individual also understand your responsibility towards contributing to the community and towards upholding its values. And another major learning would be that if you are to start something, it's important to have a good social support system, whether it's in terms of having co-founders or in terms of mentors. It's important to have a support system that you can lean on for brainstorming, for guidance, and for progressing in your ideas. And another would be ensuring that influential voices in your system don't overpower the voices of other not so influential people, maybe, or even people who may not be as assertive in sharing their opinions. So ensuring equality in that dynamic, and yeah, being a reflective practitioner, reflecting constantly on whatever you're doing, seeing the outcomes that it's having, and then accordingly either persisting or changing trajectory if you're not satisfied with the outcomes.
Yeah. Thank you, Paridi, for a very comprehensive reflection which captured all the insights through the session. Who's going in next? Yeah. Who'd like to go in next with a reflection? Yeah, Archana, please go ahead.
Hi, Pranit. It was really a great section and it was nice to meet with you. The main thing, the first thing that created greater impact was a person has his own dignity. They should not be evaluated based on the numbers. they have their own dignity and that needs to be respected. This is what created greater impact in me. And the learnings is like the work you are doing and individual participation. Like even students have a talk in the meeting. The parliament is conducted at the childhood level. Kids are given that opportunity to take their own decision. That creates a greater impact in everyone's life. So your thought process and your institutional level of thinking is like a big system that may be really hard for me to comprehend or understand currently, but I really go through your blogs and read through your articles and get to know about more about Bachpan Banao and learn more insights from you.
Yeah. Thank you, Archana. Who wants to go in next? I'm sure you articulated what many of them are feeling currently to understand how this actually works, because we just got a high level overview, but the mechanics of it, how it works, I think a lot of us are very curious about it. Yeah, who wants to go in next?
Yeah, Tarun, I want to go next. For me, the one thing that I feel, as the Paridhi mentioned, that this is very relevant to the DT ecosystem process that we use. Initially, first that we all talking about that what happened when these things came at the school level or college level. So I think this is the implementation at that level. And the one thing that I captured the example of that mathematics given by Mr. Pranith, that was that it's more important to think when he said that your class is you can say not doing very well in mathematics, then instead of doing let's understand the why that we generally use in our ecosystem. So from that feedback, that why our students and how we can use different pedagogy approaches and then to enhance their performance.
Okay. Thank you, Ravinder. I think Ravinder is relating the reflective practice where in DT we try to understand the why and then go into the how, right? So he's saying I think there's a parallel over there. So I'd like to share my reflection as well. I think initially, I think he set it out beautifully by talking about what it means to preserve individuality at scale. I think we opened up with a beautiful problem statement there. And then he gave this example of Sapno Ki Shala and the student, the parliament where students also have a say and where from small decisions to big decisions are, taken there. So, and there was this interesting question about how do you exactly, do this? So he, I think, gave his own theory that, there is this anxiety of what things would be at scale, and that anxiety is what makes people get tempted to centralize things. And he said, if you can actually think of structures which can empower the stakeholders, that's when decentralization happens. I mean, decentralization is fantastic. Everybody talks about it. But to enable it properly, I think is what he encouraged us to think about. Because if you don't enable it properly, out of anxiety, people again will go back to that centralized model. This I think somehow I compared it with Jim Collins' perspective, right? That if you want democracy, you need organizations that can deliver. Because if you do not have organizations that can deliver, the world will go to these dictators for solutions. So if you want to preserve democracy in the society, you need organizations that can deliver, is what Jim Collins says. So I think I'm just relating this, with that. And so, and there was one other important point I really wanted to say. I think while answering the questions, he had come up with this. Yeah, and then there was this interesting perspective of making Dantewada a model. This I found very interesting. We discussed the Singapore model, we discussed the Finland model. Dantewada in India became a model of what conflict is. But to convert a district which is probably seen as a model for conflict to a district which is seen as a model for education, I thought was interesting. Now, somebody might ask, hey, you're going and working with students at the bottom of the socioeconomic pyramid, how are you going to make it a model? But I think it's very interesting because he's looking at 1,000 schools all across a district and is trying to implement all the things that you write in pedagogy textbooks. All of this is being actually implemented, and probably he's enjoying slightly more committed teachers over here because they really want to do something for the district, and enjoying a highly supportive community, the tribal community, which is inherently democratic. So probably is getting greater support to his value system because the value system of the community is echoing with his value system. As he said, parents over here don't force their kids. So unfortunately, in Hyderabad, while Deep Thought tried a lot of these things, there were backlashes. So probably, yeah, he's a little more privileged there in Dantewada to have a more supportive ecosystem. So that I thought was a very interesting piece that I read. And yeah, being reflective practitioners, that thread I think a lot of you touched upon, so I'll not elaborate. And the learning circles of teachers I thought was very interesting because I see a parallel between the learning circles that Pranith is running with the LDI that we conduct, right? Where you're able to meet buddies, you're able to share what you're doing and get some support from the other buddies. So Pranith and I in Deep Thought, every Wednesday we have something called LDI, Leadership Development Initiative, where people come and make their own pitch of how they're going to approach a situation. And the other people who like their pitch can come into the breakout room and have a conversation with them. So they have internal networking in the ecosystem.
Okay, very interesting. I remember you mentioning this one.
Exactly. So I think, yeah, so getting peer-to-peer networks, I think, is key to decentralization, right? So I see that the teacher circles that you spoke about is like a peer-to-peer network, and that really caught my attention. I thought, wow, this is a really nice social structure. And I think if I were to describe my entire reflection in a sentence, I think the last 40 minutes or so for me were a beautiful exploration into a kind of social engineering, right? Like how do you engineer communities, or how do you engineer systems through which people can be people and people can bring out the best version of themselves, right? Rather than social engineering that is reducing people to a number inside some sheets, how can there be social engineering which is a lot more empowering, which is a lot more about bringing the individuality of people, right? Like how do you truly bring out civilization, right? I think is because where does civilization come from? Civilization comes from the fact that humans were insecure in the jungles. There was always threat of animals, and you needed civilization to offer that basic security and safety so that humans could pursue what they want to, pursue, right? So that I think was the very basis of civilization, and all religions also describe this basis of civilization, how we came from the law of the jungle to civilization. But we've probably gone into new jungles, new authoritative jungles that our so-called civilization ended up constructing. So somehow I think last 40 minutes, what Pranith took us through is about how that whole idea of civilization itself, which we humans embarked on, we can go back to it and rediscover it. So this is what I would look at it. And Pranith Anna, you asked if this is going to be relevant to startups, but I think this is going to be relevant to any change maker. Thanks a lot for taking us through these perspectives, which we usually don't end up hearing.
I wish whatever you are saying is true, but yeah.
Okay, I would like to request somebody else to join me in thanking Pranith for the session if someone wants to just join me, because he refuses to believe that this was useful.
No, I think, yeah, thank you very much for, in fact, giving me this opportunity, because whenever I speak, this is first time I'm talking about like building institutions and leadership, because whenever people invite me to talk something, generally it's about tribals, conflict, tribal rights, forest, and all those things. This is first time I'm talking about like building institutions and what is the thought process behind those things. It was also a very interesting, I mean, since afternoon, in fact, I was thinking what to talk and what not to talk types. So it gave me an opportunity to again to reflect upon these aspects of the world. I think this is first time I did. I hope it was relevant and useful for you people. I hope I didn't waste your time. Yeah.
Okay. Can I quickly request a couple of you to join me in thanking Pranith, please? Your gratitude for Pranith. Who wants to come in? Pranith, and apart from reflection, we have another culture of gratitude here at Deep Thought. We encourage everyone to practice gratitude here. So who wants to join me with that gratitude here?
Yeah, I would like to go first. Pranit, thank you so much for joining us. And it was the opposite of the waste of our time. I don't think it could have been any more insightful than it was. We learned a lot about how your organization works, and we got to learn about the social impact perspective of it as well, which is not something you see with a lot of organizations these days. So yeah, I think I say this for all of us when I say that we're very grateful and very thankful that you decided to join us for this session.
Yeah. Thank
Most
you.
welcome, Pranith.
Anyone else wants to join me in thanking Pranith? Who wants to go in?
I would like to go in. Just wanted to thank you, Vince, for joining the session. One concept which I usually interact with school students and love being the students when they smile and when they learn. You mentioned that you are creating the democratic culture, and there is a concept of parliament in your school or that Bachpan, Banao, that organization. So in-house, you're building that entire organization and in country. It was really grateful, and thank you for giving this concept.
We're trying. Yeah, I wish. You're most welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to thank you for sharing your emotional journey as well. It was great to know about that, like how you started, how like what you went through and where you have reached so far. Like not many people talk about loneliness that openly. So I think to hear that and understand your journey, that was also great. So thank you for sharing that.
Psychologists are particularly excited when one opens up. Pratibha is also a psychology
So
student.
I often feel so even while whenever we speak to say because I run NGO, whenever I speak to NGO people or participate, people often talk about whatever like you are doing great work and all these things. But I really feel no one ever talks about challenges that one faces in the field while doing things. I think that is missing even in the startup circles and also even in the NGO circles. We all talk about like systems, processes, and all that, but the individual challenges that one face at individual level at core, I think have never seen. Maybe I hope you people at Deep Thought might be doing it. And that's why I feel it is important to talk about those things.
So thank you, Pranitana. Anyone else wants to join in, or should we conclude the session? So
We can conclude.
yeah, we'll conclude the session. Paridhi, can we stop the recording?